Welcome to Value Plays Only, where demonic consultation is just good deck thinning. Today we have John, playing Yuriko the Tiger Shadow. This deck looks to control the table while flipping big cards off the top for massive damage. His hand contains an Ornithopter, Mockingbird, Mox Amber, Flare of Malice, Underground Sea, Morphic Pool, and Clearwater Pathway. Cammy is playing the third Doctor with Vislor Turlough. This Sultai deck is built to push a lot of value. It can win with Food Chain or Thrasios Oracle. Vislor is also a card advantage engine, if you squint. Her hand contains a Dauthi Voidwalker, Thrasios Oracle, Toxic Deluge, Chrome Mox, Otawara Soaring City, Verdant Catacombs, and Overgrown Tomb. Dan is playing Etali, Primal Conqueror. This deck wins by casting Etali early and often. He can win with Food Chain or any of his opponent's win conditions. His hand contains a Sylvan Library, the One Ring, Panharmonicon, Hellkite Courser, Ruby Medallion, Arid Mesa, and Bloodstained Mire. Last, we have Tyler, playing Rograkh, son of Rograkh and Thrasios, Triton Hero. This is a Gaia's Cradle Storm list looking to make tons of mana and dump it into Thrasios to pump out a win. His hand contains an Earthcraft, Eternal Witness, Force of Negation, Breeding Pool, Tropical Island, Flooded Strand, and Command Tower. And with that, let's see some value plays. John starts things off with an Underground Sea. He plays Ornithopter. He follows this up with a Mox Amber. He then casts a Lotus Petal. With all the plays in the world and no mana spent, John passes. Cammy plays Verdant Catacombs for turn. She pays a life and cracks it, fetching up an Underground Sea. She plays a Chrome Mox. It resolves and Cammy imprints a Toxic Deluge. John pumps his fist that he won't have to deal with Deluge this game. Cammy then taps out for a Dauthi Voidwalker. Cammy passes. Dan plays a Bloodstained Mire for turn. He pays a life and cracks it, exiling it to Dauthi, and then fetches up a Taiga. Dan passes. Tyler untaps and plays a Flooded Strand for turn. He pays a life and cracks it, exiling it to Dauthi, and fetches up a basic island. He casts his commander, Rograkh, son of Rograkh. Tyler passes. John untaps and plays a Morphic Pool for turn. He goes to combat and swings Ornithopter at Dan. Dan declares no blocks, and John activates his Commander Ninjutsu ability of Yuriko the Tiger Shadow, returning Ornithopter to hand. Yuriko enters tapped and attacking and deals 1 to Dan. Yuriko triggers and John reveals a Rhystic Study, with each opponent taking 3. In his second main phase, John recasts Ornithopter. He cracks his Lotus Petal into exile under Dauthi and taps out for a Silver Fur Master. John passes the turn. Cammy untaps and plays an Overgrown Tomb for turn. Tapped. Cammy passes the turn. Dan untaps and plays Arid Mesa for turn. He pays a life and cracks it into exile under Dauthi to fetch up a basic Mountain. He casts a Sylvan Library. Dan then passes the turn. Tyler untaps and plays Command Tower. He casts Wild Growth, targeting his island. Tyler then taps his island for 2 to cast his other commander, Thrasios, Triton Hero. Tyler passes the turn. John untaps and goes to combat. John swings Yuriko, Ornithopter, and Silver Fur Master at Dan. Dan declares no blocks, and John returns Ornithopter to his hand for the ninjutsu of Covert Technician. Dan takes 7, and John triggers Covert Technician and Yuriko 3 times. John reveals a Wingcrafter, with each opponent taking 1, a Mist Syndicate Naga, with each opponent taking 3, and a Brainstorm, with each opponent taking 1. Covert Technician then resolves and puts Ornithopter back into play. In his second main phase, John plays Clearwater Pathway for turn. He taps out for a Rhystic Study. Tyler responds with a Fierce Guardianship, targeting Rhystic. John tries to protest, putting Rhystic into the Dauthi zone, but he's a bit too far ahead for anyone to listen. Fierce counters Rhystic, and both are exiled under Dauthi. With that, John passes. Cammy untaps and plays Otawara, Soaring City as land for turn. She activates Dauthi, sacrificing it to cast Rhystic Study for free. It resolves, and Cammy passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws 3 with Sylvan Library, putting 2 back on top. He taps out for a Ruby Medallion. Rhystic triggers and Cammy draws. Medallion then resolves. Dan passes the turn. Tyler untaps and casts Earthcraft. Rhystic triggers and Tyler pays. With a basic land that taps for 2, the table is getting worried. He plays Gaia's Cradle for turn. With all the mana his deck hopes to make, Tyler passes. John untaps and goes to combat yet again. He swings all 4 of his creatures at Dan. Dan declares no blocks, and John returns Ornithopter to his hand to ninjutsu Mist Syndicate Naga into play. Dan takes 11, and a lot of things happen. Covert Technician triggers, Yuriko triggers 3 times, and Naga triggers. Naga makes its token copy, and the Yuriko triggers resolve. John reveals Demonic Tutor, with each opponent taking 2, Hydroelectric Specimen, with each opponent taking 3, Demonic Consultation, with each opponent taking 1, and Watery Grave. Covert Technician then resolves, and John puts into play a Weathered Runestone. Cammy confirms that nothing this turn has even triggered Rhystic, and John agrees. In his second main phase, John plays a Watery Grave for turn, untapped, paying 2 life. John then puts a Demonic Tutor on the stack. Rhystic triggers and Cammy draws. Demonic Tutor resolves, and John searches up a card into his hand and then passes the turn. Cammy untaps and plays a Watery Grave for turn, untapped paying 2 life. She casts a Mystic Remora. With John questioning who the real control deck is, Cammy passes. Dan untaps and draws 3 through Sylvan Library. He looks at his life total and expresses his immense disappointment in how this game is going. He puts 2 back on top. Dan plays a Shifting Woodland for turn. He pays 2 for a Burgi, God of Storytelling. Dan passes. In his end step, Tyler activates Earthcraft, tapping Thrasios to untap his island. In response, John casts Flare of Malice, sacrificing Yuriko as an alternate cost. Rhystic and Mystic trigger, and Cammy draws 2. Tyler responds by activating Earthcraft again, tapping Rograkh to untap his island. He taps out to put a Thrasios activation on the stack. Tyler looks at his top card and really goes into the tank. After his deliberation, he reveals a Brain Freeze and adds it to his hand. He then casts Force of Negation, exiling Brain Freeze as an additional cost, targeting Flare of Malice. Rhystic and Mystic trigger, and Cammy draws 2. John can see his window dwindling, and he decides he really needs to take a dent out of Tyler's board. He casts Commandeer, exiling Hydroelectric Specimen and Wingcrafter as cost. Mystic and Rhystic trigger. In response, Cammy casts a Mystical Tutor. Cammy puts a Dark Ritual on top of her library, and then draws 2 cards. Commandeer resolves, changing the target of Force and Negation to Commandeer. Force then fizzles, and Flare Malice finally resolves, getting rid of Thrasios and Burgi. Tyler leaves Thrasios in his graveyard, and the turn finally moves to Tyler. Tyler untaps and plays a Deserted Temple for turn. He taps 3 for Eternal Witness. Rhystic triggers and Cammy draws. Eternal Witness enters and returns Thrasios to Tyler's hand. He taps Witness through Earthcraft to untap his island. He recasts Thrasios. Rhystic triggers and Cammy draws. Finished up, Tyler passes. John untaps and goes to combat. He swings his 4 creatures at Cammy. Cammy declares no blocks. John returns his Naga to hand to ninjutsu Yuriko back in. Cammy takes 11, and a lot of triggers go on the stack. Covert Technician triggers, Yuriko triggers 4 times, and Naga triggers. John creates a new token copy of Naga, and then reveals a Sakashima Student, with each opponent taking 4, a Scalding Tarn, a Flusterstorm, with each opponent taking 1, and Dan dies. With the final Yuriko trigger on the stack, John casts a Demonic Consultation. Rhystic and Mystic trigger, and Cammy draws 2. Cammy responds with a Force of Will, pitching Gilded Drake and paying a life as an additional cost. Force counters Console. Yuriko then reveals Harrier Strix, with each opponent taking 1. Covert Technician then puts Ornithopter into play. Still in the end of combat step, John activates the ninjutsu ability of Sakashima's Student, returning Covert Technician to hand. It enters as an Eternal Witness that is also a ninja. It triggers and returns Flare of Malice to John's hand. In his second main phase, John plays Scalding Tarn as his land for turn. He pays a life and cracks it, fetching up a basic island. John then casts Blood Chief's Ascension. Rhystic and Mystic trigger, and Cammy draws 2. Blood Chief resolves, and John moves to his end step. Blood Chief triggers to get a counter. The turn then moves to Cammy. Cammy untaps and pays for Remora. She then plays a Bayou for turn. She casts a Mox Diamond, discarding Undergrowth Stadium as it enters. She then goes into the tank. With all her mana and nothing productive to do, Cammy passes the turn. In her end step, Tyler taps Gaia's Cradle for 3. He then pays 1 to activate Deserted Temple, targeting Gaia's Cradle. John responds with a Flare of Malice, sacrificing Yuriko as an additional cost. Rhystic and Mystic trigger, and Cammy draws 2. Cammy hardcasts a Mindbreak Trap, trying to help Tyler slow down John's board. Flare is exiled, and Gaia's Cradle untaps. Tyler uses his mana to activate Thrasios. He reveals a Pact of Negation, drawing it. He taps Thrasios and Rograkh through Earthcraft for 4 mana, and activates Thrasios, bottoming 1 and revealing Veil of Summer, drawing it. The turn then moves to Tyler. Tyler untaps and bestows Springheart Nantuko, targeting Eternal Witness. Rhystic and Mystic trigger, and Cammy draws 2. Nantuko resolves, enchanting the Eternal Witness. Tyler plays Tropical Island for turn. Nantuko triggers, and Tyler pays to make a token copy of Eternal Witness. New Witness triggers and adds Force of Negation from Tyler's graveyard back to his hand. Tyler then passes. John untaps and goes to combat. He swings Ornithopter at Tyler, and the rest of his board at Cammy, which is lethal to her on its own. They both declare no blocks, and John returns Ornithopter to his hand to ninjutsu Yuriko back in at Tyler. Tyler takes 2, and Cammy takes 13. Naga triggers twice, and Yuriko triggers 5 times. John makes 2 new Nagas, and then reveals a Mana Confluence, Imperial Seal with Tyler taking 1, Agadeem's Awakening with Tyler taking 3, Fierce Guardianship with Tyler taking 3, and Tainted Pact with Tyler taking 2. In his second main phase, John casts Mockingbird with X = 2. It enters as a Flying Ninja Eternal Witness. Witness triggers and adds Demonic Consultation back to John's hand. John casts Ornithopter, and then moves to his end step. Blood Chief Ascension triggers and gets a counter. Tyler activates Thrasios, revealing the One Ring. He activates again, bottoming a card, and putting Polluted Delta into play tapped. Nantuko triggers to make a 1/1 insect. Tyler activates again, revealing Deflecting Swat and adding it to his hand. Tyler taps his last 2 creatures to untap his island 2 more times. On his last Earthcraft activation, before he has 4 mana, John casts Demonic Consultation. Tyler spends 3 mana on a Force of Negation. John responds with Fierce Guardianship. Tyler casts Deflecting Swat, targeting Fierce. John puts a Flusterstorm on the stack, putting 3 copies on Swat and 4 on Force of Negation. Tyler's spells are countered and Demonic Consultation resolves. John does one last cursory check to confirm he has not seen the card yet, and then names Deadly Rollick. He exiles 30 or so cards, including Thassa's Oracle, and adds Deadly Rollick to hand. John then casts Deadly Rollick, targeting the Enchanted Eternal Witness. Tyler responds with Pact of Negation. Pact resolves and counters Rollick. Tyler's land untap then resolves. With only 2 mana left, he takes no actions and the turn passes to Tyler. Tyler untaps, and in his upkeep, he pays a life, cracking his Polluted Delta to fetch up a Volcanic Island to the battlefield. Nantuko triggers and makes a 1/1 insect. He taps Thrasios to untap his island to help pay for Pact of Negation. Tyler then moves to his main phase. He plays a Breeding Pool into play untapped, paying 2 life. Nantuko triggers and Tyler pays with Earthcraft to make a new Eternal Witness, adding Deflecting Swat back to his hand. He then spends 4 mana on the One Ring. It enters and he gains protection from everything. John feels further from victory than ever. Tyler is similarly in a hard spot due to the Weathered Runestone. Most of his tutors are shut off by it, and he needs to try and draw into his win. Tyler activates Thrasios, putting Scalding Tarn into play tapped. Nantuko triggers, and Tyler pays with Earthcraft to make a new Eternal Witness, adding Force of Negation back to his hand. He activates Thrasios again, revealing Enduring Vitality and drawing it. He activates again, revealing Flusterstorm to hand. Content with his plays, Tyler passes. In his end step, Bloodchief Ascension triggers to get its 3rd counter. With that, John is back in the game. John untaps and casts Mystic Remora. Tyler pays 3 mana with Earthcraft for Force of Negation, countering and exiling Mystic Remora. Bloodchief triggers, and Tyler loses 2 and John gains 2. John goes to combat and swings his Student Witness, Mockingbird Witness, and Ornithopter at Tyler. Tyler declares no blocks. John returns Student to his hand to activate the ninjutsu of Thousand Face Shadow. It enters and triggers, targeting the Mockingbird Witness to make a new copy. Tyler casts Deflecting Swat, targeting the Thousand Face Shadow ability. John responds by returning Ornithopter to hand to ninjutsu Sakashima Student into play. It enters as a Flying Ninja Eternal Witness. Witness triggers and adds Deadly Rollick back to hand. Deflecting Swat then resolves, but both valid targets for the Shadow ability are now Flying Ninja Eternal Witnesses. Swat resolves without effect. Bloodchief triggers, and Tyler loses 2 and John gains 2. The Shadow ability resolves, creating a new Flying Ninja Eternal Witness, tapped and attacking. Witness triggers and returns Flusterstorm to hand. With the stack clear, in the Declare Blocker step, John casts Deadly Rollick, targeting the Enchanted Eternal Witness. This creates a guaranteed loss scenario for Tyler. While he has protection, if the Eternal Witness is exiled, the bestowed Springheart Nantuko will fall off and go to grave, triggering Bloodchief to drain his last life. If Tyler attempts to cast any spells to counter or redirect the Rollick, that spell will also go to grave, draining his last life. Tyler decides to go out on his own terms and casts a Veil of Summer, drawing a card and triggering Bloodchief Ascension. Tyler loses 2 and John gains 2. With that, John wins the game. So, what did we learn here today? Rhystic Study doesn't mean much if players don't need to cast any spells. If you have any suggestions for commanders we should play or other tips for the video, leave them below. Until next time, keep making value plays. In your end step, Bloodchief Ascension ticks up.
Oh, because I took some damage?
Yeah, you paid for Breeding Pool. And your fetch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is now my win condition. I will show you Deadly Rollick targeting Eternal Witness. I think this is game. Because if you cast a spell, you'll die. When Eternal Witness exiles, Nantuko will go to your grave and kill you.
I'll make you work for it.
Okay.
Luster.
I'll pass on
stack.
I'll pass on
I'm thinking.
Oh. Okay, all copies targeting Deadly Rollick, I assume?
Yeah.
Great.
Veil.
Okay.
I'll draw.
Yeah. Veil has resolved because you drew. It goes to game.
How many spells
This is in your grave. I have a trigger.
No, it's still on the stack.
If you drew a card, then it's in the grave.
Alright, I didn't draw yet.
That is true.
I saw this card. I'm saying, how many cards do you cast this turn?
1.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 2. I cast Mystic Remora.
Oh my god.
You want to cast another?
Yeah. I'll cast Brainstorm.
Oh yeah, Mind Break that.
Yeah, great.
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Holy shit, dude.
I was trying to work something.
Dude,